stuff out. Hopefully you remember about things we did 3.1 through 3.3. That will is a big part of what we're doing today. We're talking about proving lines parallel. We're probably going to deal with some transversals, alternate interior angles being congruent, things like that. I would bet. What I'm going to write here is we're going to, instead of writing a bunch of theorems, we're going to kind of simplify the theorems. We're going to say to prove two lines are parallel. Come in. Here's some ways we can do that. Okay, Lauren. You can prove that a pair of corresponding angles are congruent. If you prove that one pair of corresponding angles are congruent, guess what? The two lines are parallel. Second thing you could do, you can prove that a pair of alternate exterior angles are congruent.
It's going to be on the website.
You could prove that a pair of alternate interior angles are congruent. You can also prove that a pair of consecutive interior angles are supplementary. This is really the same, in some ways, it's the same section as 3.2. It's just we're going about it backwards. In section 3.2, you had two lines drawn, you had a transversal. And we said if these two lines are parallel, then corresponding angles have to be congruent. All right? You guys should remember that from the test. We said the alternate exterior angles have to be congruent if those two lines are parallel, right? If the two lines are parallel, then your alternate interior angles have to be congruent. If the lines are parallel, then the consecutive interior angles are what? Supplementary, right? They add to 180. So all this section is saying, hey, if you can find one pair of corresponding angles that are congruent, then guess what you can say about those two lines? They have to be what? Parallel. If you can find one pair of alternate exterior angles that are congruent, you can say the two lines are. You can find a pair of angles that the alternate interior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. And if you can find two consecutive, a pair of consecutive interior angles that are supplementary, then you know the two lines are parallel. Okay, so it's just going about it backwards. So, get your little red book out. You have a couple types of problems here. But really what you've got here, and a lot of them are really the same problems that you had in 3-2. It's just find x. Right here it's going to say find x, so these two have to be parallel. Well, what do I have here? How does this angle relate to this angle? What can we call it?
Exterior.
They're alternate what?
Exterior.
Angles. And what do we know they have to be?
Congruent.
Alternate, for those two to be parallel, they have to be what?
Congruent.
So for these two to be parallel, that must be congruent to that, right?
Yes.
So how would we find the values x so those two are congruent? This is how they have to, this has to be the same as that, right?
We put 5x
So what,
minus
anytime it looks like an algebra
5
problem, I need to create a
equals
equation.
5x minus 5 equals
5x minus 5 equals what?
6x minus 20.
Everybody see how we got that? I'm going to add 20 to both sides. I get 5x, what is that, plus 15 is equal to 6x.
Yes.
What do I do next?
5x, bring it over.
Subtract 5x from both sides. I'll get 15 is equal to what? X. That's the value of x that makes those two parallel. So all you have to figure out on these type of problems, do you have alternate interior angles, or do you have alternate what? Exterior angles? Do you have corresponding angles, or do you have consecutive interior angles? These are your four types you could have, right?
Yes.
If you have alternate interior angles, how do they have to relate to each other? What do our theorems say? They have to be congruent. If they're alternate exterior angles, what do they have to be?
Congruent.
Corresponding angles, what do they have to be?
Congruent.
Consecutive interior angles, what do they have to be?
Supplementary.
They have to add to what?
180.
So that tells you what type of equation to do every time, doesn't it? Look at number 2. Which one do you have here?
Alternate exterior.
Alternate
Interior.
interior?
Yes.
So you've got this one right here. So these two have to be what? So your equation is 4x plus 20 equals what?
6x.
And I'm telling you, if I don't see that equation and I don't see it solved on your paper, you're not going to get hardly any credit. Okay, this is what you got to learn to do in geometry. And don't give me that crap you can do that in your head. I don't care. I want to see it on the paper. Now, how do the two angles given to you here relate to each other? And number 3,
Alternate interior.
they're alternate interior. What do we know about alternate interior? They're what? They're equal. So what? 3x plus 15, correct?
Mhm.
Would equal what?
90.
It's not so bad, is it?
No.
Look at number 4. How do these two relate to each other?
Alternate
Equal.
interior.
Alternate interior, so they have to be,
Equal.
so 9x plus 1 equals what? 8x plus 8. How about here?
alternate exterior.
Alternate exterior, so 2x has got to equal what?
3x minus 20.
What about here? What do I have on 6?
No, corresponding.
They're corresponding. So they're still equal. So 5x plus 20 is equal to 70. Corresponding. Alternate exterior. Write that in there, all of them. So these are alternate what? Interior. These are alternate interior. These were alternate interior.
On number 3, oh, the other angle is the right angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
90 is equal to that. And then I'll give you one more example. If you use your problem solving skills, I bet you can guess what my example is going to be here. For this last example, we'll call it number 7. How do these two relate to each other?
Consecutive interior.
They're
Equal
consecutive,
180.
consecutive interior. So, these two, they're not, this is the one situation where they're not what? Equal. In this case, they what?
Add the
So
180.
2x plus 4 plus what?
3x minus 2.
Minus 2, all of that should equal what?
180.
There's your equation there.
Yeehaw.
Make sure you have that down. Oh, all right. So you have that to look at.
So the test is just gonna have 3-4 to 3-, just the rest of the chapter? Okay.
Are you sure?
That's pretty easy, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Was math your favorite class in high school and college and stuff? Mr. Stone?
One,
Was math your favorite subject?
I suppose. I just love school in general.
Oh. Well, me too.
Ugh.
I wish I could.
There wasn't any specific reason that led you to just be a math teacher.
I know, it made my day so much better.
What would have been impressive
Did you
is
have
might
to
been
take
something
that
besides
today,
math
Yankee?
teacher.
Oh,
Math
yeah.
easy.
Was it hard?
What about science? Is science easy?
Not chemistry.
I want to buy it.
All right. Is everybody got it written down? Then you can start writing down the proof
What?
that we're going to do.
Wait, there's a proof?
Yeah, there's a proof.
It's always a proof.
We always got a proof already.
Obvious. But we're done with proofs.
We'll still do them in our assignments.
But not tests, right?
Probably not. We may throw one in here and there. Every proof they have you do on this assignment, I want it to be a 2-column proof. Okay?
How many proofs are there in the assignment?
Enough.
There's never enough
Right now, let's
proofs.
focus on this. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5 is given to us. Angle 15 is congruent to angle 5. All of that is given. All right. Everybody stop writing I will freeze this and let you guys write it down after we're done. Okay, so let's analyze what they've given to us. They've given to us first that angle 5 is congruent to angle 1. And also that angle 5 is congruent to angle what?
15.
Okay. They want us to prove that this has to be parallel to this, and then this has to be parallel to this. Okay? To prove two lines are parallel, all I have to do is prove one of these things here, right?
Yes.
So what has been given to you? First, let's worry about L and M. Stop writing, I said, and watch. Thank you. Noir, wake up! Thank you. L, let's try to figure out how we can get L parallel to M. Well, how does 1 relate to 5?
Correspond.
Have I proven that I have a pair of corresponding angles
Yes.
Yes, because
that are congruent?
Yes.
I already have that even stated. So my second step here, I could state that L is parallel to M. Now the most important thing and what they're trying to get you to do with a proof like this is say why. I want you to see why is that true. Now, you can either write that out or you can say the converse of the corresponding angle theorem. That's what all these are, is all these in this section, or every one of these is the converse of the corresponding angle. The corresponding angle theorem states that if two lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles have to be congruent. But we want the opposite of that. We want to say because these two corresponding angles are congruent, the lines have to be. So that's the converse, just flipping the front to back and back to front, right? Okay, so I've stated one of the two things. 3. What else do I have to state? R is parallel to what?
S.
Can I say that?
You can't see it.
I've stated that 5 is congruent to 15. How does 5 relate to 15?
Alternate exterior.
So, what is my reason I can say those two are parallel?
Converse.
The converse
Alternate exterior angle
Of
theorem.
the alternate
Wait, why did you do that?
exterior angle theorem.
it's the opposite.
Now, how hard of a proof is that? Have I stated everything?
That was
Proved it?
really hard.
Yes.
Yep. You gotta like that, huh?
The one in the workbook has
Yeah.
a lot more
Yeehaw.
steps.
Huh?
The one in the workbook has a lot more steps. It's like the same proof.
I'm confused.
I don't like theirs.
It's easy enough.
Touchdown.
Because I've stated that these two are congruent, right? And they happen to be what? Alternate exterior angles. I have a theorem that says if two angles are alternate exterior angles, then what? That's why we didn't do it from the workbook. Okay, that's why I wanted to write down separate. I mean, I don't mind, but I don't see a reason to make more steps than what they are. You know what I mean?
Hardy, hard.
Touchdown.
Yes.
Why did you put